We interrupt this Tampa coronation for a bit of a gyration. That fellow there, Ron Paul, someone had thrown a lay on him to say he is greeted here favorably as a rock star here, most definitely. Ron Paul telling me he likes this ticket. That doesn't mean he is supporting this ticket. Ron Paul, minutes ago.
I didn't know what to expect. I knew we had a few friends here, but I was surprised with the enthusiasm and very pleased.
Who got you the Hawaiian lei? Who did that?
Somebody.
Someone in the Hawaii delegation.
Yeah.
You are, backing the ticket, but you're not wholeheartedly enthusiastic about it. Is that about right?
No, that's about it. I haven't endorsed the ticket, and I endorse the principles I've been talking about for a long time, a lot of times on your show, and you know basically what that is. I'm endorsing, peace and prosperity and individual liberty, the Constitution, and I'm more intense on that than I am on the politics of it. So in a way, as I drift away from the political action, I might even feel more comfortable. There's some things in politics that aren't a whole lot of fun. There's a lot of infighting. I never enjoy that. There's a little bit of that going on now, but I would just assume talk about business problems, economic problems, and the business cycle. Those are the things that really stir my interest.
You prefaced your remarks, Congressman, saying you're not quite on board with this ticket then. Does it mean you could leave this convention not supporting it?
No, I'm not intending to endorse anybody.
Does you have any horse in this race you like?
You mean in the total race? Well,
Barack Obama, Mitt Romney.
I'm not at this moment. I have no plans to endorse anybody, and I think most people realize that.
But you're going to vote.
I will probably vote. I've done that in the past.
Would you err more on the side to Mitt Romney or not?
On certain issues. But just remember...
But is there a possibility you could vote for Barack Obama?
Not too likely.
Okay. Is there a possibility you could vote for the Libertarian candidate, Gary Johnson?
Well, there's always possibilities of everything, but I haven't made up my mind. Put me down as undecided. But let me just tell you what happened in '76. Ford was president,
right.
And I was a big Reagan supporter. Went to the convention, but back then I wasn't. Nobody really cared. I never endorsed the ticket, and it was a non-event. I just didn't endorse it because Reagan was my guy.
Well, you're a much bigger deal now. You're a national figure.
Yeah, but that's only because you get me on your show all the time.
But in all seriousness, Congressman, the candidates, Mitt Romney or Paul Ryan himself, in just an interview yesterday, was talking about this notion that, those enthusiastic backers of yours will rally around as you will rally around this ticket. They're confident you will and they will. Are they overconfident? Are they mistakenly confident?
They might be jumping the gun a bit.
What do you want to hear out of them?
Because I'm not a block. I don't own my delegates. I'm a little bit different. I don't have, all right, I have these delegates. I'm going to release them. I can't release anybody. I don't own anything. They're going to do what they want to do. And if I do something that they don't think is consistent, I'll lose credibility and they won't do what I tell them.
Well, are your backers telling you, sir?
I think
don't sign on board with this ticket?
I think they're very independent. I think some are in that position. Some might, and some might go to different parties. But they're individuals. And when they ask me what to do, I said, do what you want to do. I don't see this as I see what I do as more of an intellectual movement, and we talk about revolution because we need a revolutionary change in our ideas. We just can't go along with the status quo. And when you come down to monetary policy and foreign policy and spending and debt, the tradition, the Republicans and Democrats haven't had a whole lot of difference.
In fact, your criticism of Paul Ryan when he was picked was not that he cuts too much, but that he doesn't cut nearly enough.
Yeah, matter of fact, you interviewed me on the day we voted.
And your point is well taken because over 10 years, even with the Ryan plan, that does shave $5 trillion off spending over 10 years, but we still have more spending than we do this year.
Yeah, but it was 30 years to get to a balanced budget. So,
and you argue that's way too long.
Way too long. And there were no cuts. It was, one point that I try to talk about is baseline budgeting. And that should appeal to logic. Why should you have a baseline that's going up steadily, and anything you cut from the baseline is a cut? So they get nearly hysterical if you increase a $100 billion budget to 150.
In other words, curb the growth.
Yeah.
But that's not cutting.
No,
right.
It's not.
No, you're right about
all.
that. You're right. But is this party the argument for Mitt Romney, Congressman, picking Paul Ryan was to show that he had that conservative gravitas, that anti-spending gravitas. You don't buy that, it sounds like.
Not according to what my speech was on the floor about the Ryan budget, because I voted against it because it didn't really cut anything. But the Democrats fall into the trap. The Democrats become the group that solidifies his reputation by saying, "Oh my Lord, look at what this Ryan does. The Ryan is slashing the budget." Conservatives say, "Hey, that's our guy." But the Democrats give him his reputation, but he's only talking about cutting proposed increases. They're not real cuts. And, of course, I'm interested in less militarism. I don't think we should fight undeclared war. So there's places where I'm convinced that if anybody's sincere about cutting, they have to talk about baseline budgeting. They have to be willing to cut domestic and foreign expenditures. Otherwise, they don't think this is very serious. And that I believe it's very serious, because I believe that we're going to get into a much worse crisis than we had in 2008. It's approaching quickly, and it's a spending problem. And if we get into the same situation as Greece, it's a much bigger deal, because we are the biggest economy and we have the reserve currency. That's what we should be talking about. But because they don't do this cutting and they're not serious, they either don't understand, or they're just willing to delay it, or figuring, I can't win if I actually cut something. Everybody yells and screams. If you cut one weapon system, you're going to destroy the troops.
Well, how do you feel about these sequestration cuts, these automatic cuts? Many in your party have argued the defense cuts are draconian, they're too severe. Where do you stand on that?
I think that's silly talk, because there are no real cuts. There's just cuts in the proposed increases, and that's where the problem is. So they fight, they delay, they get the deficit level increased, the debt level increased, and they agree to sequester funds. And then guess who wants to remove that? Liberal Democrats and conservative Republicans.
They both agree. They didn't like the rules. Do you think we have this debt clock running in here, Congress? And I think that is in all reality a difference to you and the issue that you've made it. But, $16 trillion is a lot of money. And do you think we'll ever get that paid off?
Oh, absolutely not. There's not a prayer. Governments never pay off the debt, but they liquidate the debt. You don't pay it off. You don't earn it. Like if you and I get into trouble.
But is there a way to boom your way out of it? Can you grow your way out of it?
No, not at this level.
The Romney ticket believes with tax cuts and the like, you can boom your way out.
But you can inflate your way out of it, destroy the value of the currency. If we owe $16 trillion, if you destroy 50% price inflation, your dollar lost 50%, you only owe $1 trillion.
Could you imagine if interest rates were higher, how much that debt would be?
And interest rates will go higher, and they're destined to go higher. Otherwise, we don't ever have to go to work again, because we issue the reserve currency of the world. They're still selling us stuff, and they still, when there's a little shake in market, people still go to our treasury bills. That can't last forever.
No, it can't last forever. Finally, your thought here at this convention, where whatever the agreements or disagreements, there's a lot of people who think the world of you here, but you don't have a huge speaking role here. And I'm wondering whether they're kind of soft pedaling you.
I don't know what you call it. No, I don't have a. It's not that I don't have a huge speaking role. I don't have a speaking role, but they're anxious. I think they're really anxious.
Well, they count the
our
stuff
voters.
You do off-site. That's what you're doing off-site. But you don't feel you don't feel you've been treated well by the Romney campaign?
I don't worry too much about that and characterize it a certain way. Of course, my supporters think they treat us atrociously, and I sort of get it out of my system because we had a grand rally on Sunday night.
But would you be angrier, Congressman, if not for your son and thinking about his future, Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, and that maybe the better part of valor is to swallow your angst or pride, whatever you want to call it, so that he could carry the torch?
Well, it might sound I'm cold and callous, but guess what? About the time he was 16, I sort of turned him loose.
And away he went.
And he's on his own. So I can't bestow anything on him, and he's doing a pretty good job, and he will not do things just as I have done it, and he has a pretty good reputation already, so there will be disagreements on strategies, so I think that's pretty normal and understood.
You know, Congressman, as the business nerd at Fox, what I've always appreciated about you covering your speeches and your primaries and caucuses, you're the only guy on the planet who could talk about the Federal Reserve and money supply and velocity of currencies and get standing ovations from young people.
I love it.
If I could do that, my ratings would be like Jay Leno's.
I'll tell you what I enjoyed on the write-ups on the rally we had the other night is they talked just about what you said, and he said, what is amazing about Ron Paul, he did this talk for an hour and 15 minutes. I can't believe anybody would sit and listen to that. But they said he never mentioned the president's name or Romney's name once.
That's right.
And I never, that wasn't a plan, but that's just the way my mind works because, like, they want me, used to always say, attack Bernanke.
Right.
No, Bernanke isn't the issue. It is the issue of fiat money and the monetary policy.
Well, maybe your next career is beckoning, a financial anchor at Fox.
Well, I thought you were going to send me to the Fed.
Congressman, thank you very, very much. Very good seeing you. All right.